Do you send the link to Carlos also? Okay, is that right? They send the Zoom link.
Yes.
Zoom link, yes.
¿Necesitas que mandárselo vos? ¿O crees que se...?
Es que no, bueno, en principio estaba con nosotras y veo que está
Ahí,
missing.
ahí te lo paso.
Maybe Ellie, can I also ask you if you take off the blood
Yes.
background, then we can
Yes,
we will
I
be able
try
to
to-
see also.
Yes, sorry.
I'm a ghost.
Maybe it's automatic, no?
Here is Carlos.
Because I can deactivate. Carlos is here.
Yes, he just joined, I think. He's joining right now.
No he visto cuando has abierto.
Vale.
Ah, now we see you better. Okay, let's wait maybe one other minute and then we slowly start because we have a very packed program. So we don't want to go too much over time. And can I just ask Lucas, we don't need to record anything because it's automatically recorded here, right? Oh,
Okay.
The recording is stopped.
exactly. That's not what we wanted to happen.
Yeah, I'm here in the shadows. I'll just keep my camera off. But yeah, good to see you all.
Hi, Lucas.
Lucas, do we need to do
Hello.
anything about the recording? Will you be managing that?
Yeah, I'll be managing, chat as well. So we are live already, just so you know.
Okay, great. Because something said the recording has stopped. I don't know why, so I was a bit...
Yeah. No, because I deactivated, but
Okay.
we are live on
Great.
YouTube. Cool.
Fantastic. So I think we can probably get started. So welcome everyone to this launch webinar of Open Data Editor. Open Data Editor is, for those of you who might be curious and haven't tried it yet, is a desktop application to help basically non-technical people or people with little technical skills to work with data. And we'll go into more details about that, but just a few things that we wanted to announce before. So the Open Data Editor, also known as ODE, has been stable released in December. So this is really like the webinar to launch it and to announce it to every one of you. I'm Sara Petti, and I'm the project manager of this project. And actually, I'm joined here by some of our other team members. So Romina Coleman here.
Hi.
Product owner. And Romina will also be talking a little bit after. And I saw, yes, Patricio Del Bocca somewhere, who's our tech lead. But one thing that I wanted to do as a first kind of like introduction is basically saying that this, I mean, you see the three of us here, but this has really been a kind of like team effort. So probably now you see my screen, I hope. And I wanted just to quickly introduce you to the full team because this has been a full team effort. So you can see here Evgeny Karev, who's our senior developer and also the ODE creator. Romina Coleman, just here in the call as well, who's our product owner with her cat. And then myself, I've been the project manager of the project. We have Gergana Chachkova, who's the other senior dev who's worked on the project. Faith Kenny, who's been our UX designer, and then Patricio Del Bocca, who's also in the call, who is our tech lead at Open Knowledge Foundation. And I just wanted to show the faces because it's very important to acknowledge that this has really been a team effort as well. And I also wanted to take maybe just a minute to thank the Patrick McGovern Foundation, who have been very generous in funding us to bring the application to what it is today in its stable release. So they really believed in us, and also they put some more faith in us because basically they are funding also the next iteration of Open Data Editor, which will happen next year. So we're planning a lot of very exciting stuff. Maybe just in a nutshell, for 2025, we will work on making the current architecture of the application lighter. We will work also on the AI component. So we basically, with the release, we just have an AI plugin, but we plan to work much more on that and basically work more with local, possibly open LLMs. And then, of course, and this is also like something that you will see in the call today, really work a lot, even more than what we did this year with the community out there, Because one thing to say about Open Data Editor, and this is a lot of what also Romina brought to the project actually, is there's really been an iterative process in which basically we try to develop the application together with the community and the potential users to really understand what the problems were there in order to address real problem and not guessing problems that were actually in the end just adding additional problems to what people already had. So Open Data Editor, I just said it. It's a desktop application. It's very important to mention this because the fact that it's a desktop application and not cloud-based, it means that it's an application that is very privacy-friendly as well for your data. And it means that you can completely use it offline as well, which makes it also a friendly application for those places in the world where maybe the internet connection might not be all the time super stable, including Italy, where I'm based, sadly to announce. Another thing that we wanted to mention about Open Data Editor is also that it is not an application that has been developed in the void and out of nowhere, but it's actually coming from decades of experience that we have at Open Knowledge Foundation when it comes to data publication, data transplantation, and generally speaking, iteration with open data communities worldwide. We are the pioneers of like data standards. We are behind the SICAN project, for example. We are the creator of it. SICAN is a data catalog, which basically powers the open data catalogs of a lot of governments and organizations around the world. And Patricio here, who's our tech lead, is actually part also of the co-development team of SICAN. So in case you're interested, ask him questions. But we're also part, behind initiatives like Frictionless Data, which actually powers Open Data Editor. And Frictionless Data is basically toolkit of standard ways to containerize data, and then software implementation of those standards. So for those of you who are non-technical, I assume I just lost you completely. And so the idea of Open Data Editor was basically to enable people to use all the functionalities that Frictionless gives to people, which is basically making it easier for people to enhance the quality in their data and make it just easier for people to work with data, checking for errors and stuff like this. But instead of using, programming languages like we did in the Frictionless project, the idea with Open Data Editor was to allow people that are not familiar with programming to also have access to this kind of functionalities through a user interface. So in this case, Open Data Editor. It has been a long year and the application has changed a lot, and Romina will show you a lot of that in just a few minutes. But one thing, or maybe a couple of things that really were foundational in our work this year was really a decision at the beginning of the year to make the development of the application as transparent as possible. And when I say that, I mean that we decided, of course, to work on GitHub, as we always do at the Open Knowledge Foundation. So opening up the roadmap, for example, for people to comment, but it also meant, and again, because we're thinking here about non-technical audiences, and again, thanks Romina, because that was mainly her idea as well, basically taking that and transforming it into something that was also digestible by non-technical people. So throughout the years, and maybe someone can actually put maybe a link in the chat, we published a lot of blogs to basically tell people what we were doing, so that people could understand why we were making some choices, which choices we were making, and all these kind of things. I'll definitely encourage you to go and explore those blogs if you're interested. But then the other very important component of the way that we worked this year was iterating with people. So Romina, at the beginning of the project, ran a very, very long user research, which was essential for guiding the roadmap of the application later on and how we actually developed it. And then throughout the years, we also kept iterating with people. And then in the last phase, so from September on, when we had the beta release and then the stable release right now, we started working with people from the community doing user testing sessions, reviewing the documentation, but especially we selected 2 organizations to pilot the application for us as early adopters. And so the 2 organizations that are here today, actually, and that will present a little bit the work that they did with Open Data Editor are ACIJ. So sorry for butchering the Spanish here, so I'll try to pronounce this, Asociación Civil por la Igualdad y la Justicia, which is an Argentinian NGO. It's a nonprofit organization that has been founded in 2002. Their vision is to have a just and inclusive society that is free from poverty and discrimination, and where all individuals are guaranteed equal treatment, full access to their rights, and genuine opportunity to participate in and influence decision-making on public matters with democratic and transparent institutions. And then the other organization is StoryData, which is a Barcelona-based data communications project that combines research, analysis, and visualization with narrative to tell the stories behind the data. The mission of StoryData is to fill a gap in the current communication offer through a rigorous exercise in data journalism, and they defend the need of open data for citizens in order to socialize public information and combat post-truth. So you will hear in a second from the two organizations, basically how they started working with Open Data Editor, how it helped, maybe the problems that they had, but also like the things that they found interesting and helpful about the application. And they will get more or less 10 minutes each to do so. After that, we will have some time for questions, around 10 minutes, maybe more, let's see. So if you have questions, know that there's a time when you will be able to ask them. But before handing it over to ACIJ and then StoryData, I just wanted to pass the mic to Romina Coleman, who's our product owner, who will tell us a little bit how Open Data Editor evolved throughout the year. Thanks.
Thank you, Sarah, and thank you everyone for coming to the launch of the Open Data Editor. I will just talk for 4 or 5 minutes. I will show you, how we started working with the app at the beginning of March, and then the changes that we made, a short demo on the application before we can listen to ACIJ and also StoryData comments based on the pilot they conducted. So I'll start sharing my screen. I hope everyone can see it. Okay, so basically in March, when we started checking the application, the Open Data Editor could do a lot of things. People could upload tables to check errors. Also, people could work with data from maps. Artificial intelligence was integrated in the tool. But if you ask people what the Open Data do in reality, they did at that time, it was super complicated to define that. So basically, also the application integrated charts, again, the maps, different files, people could edit data, and there were a lot of things working here. So what we discovered conducting user research, basically, before writing a single line of code, we started talking to people, data practitioners working in the journalism field, activists, people in NGOs. So we asked them, what are your pains? Basically, what are the problems that you encounter when you start working with data? And we discovered that these were all the same problems that we had 10 years ago. So basically, people spend a lot of time exploring data and trying to check if the data was okay to start doing data analysis. Same old problems all over again. So we decided to redefine the vision of the product. And we said, hey, what we need to do is transform the Open Data Editor into an app that people can use to check and explore errors in tables. So right now, I will show you what we have done. This is, can you see the app? Yes, right? This is the stable release and the app that we currently have. What people can do here is upload data. I will upload one data set. You can upload your data from your computer, and you can upload Excel files or CSV. You can also upload folders with a lot of CSVs, and you can even type and paste here Google Sheets that are public so that the Open Data Editor can check errors in your tables. So let's say we have a file from our computer here. I will upload this. Hope it's not too big. No, let's use this one. And what is happening right now is that the ODE read the file, the table, and detected one error. How we can see that? Because the errors report button indicates that we have one error here, and the row is highlighted in red. What is the process behind this? We mentioned that we are using Frictionless. Frictionless is a framework, a toolkit that allows the ODE to apply certain types of rule and see if those rules are met in the file. So basically, if a file contains errors, the ODE will show those errors to the user. In this case, the problem is that, of course, we have numbers here, and then in this cell, we have text. So there is something that we need to correct. And not only that, the ODE also showed the user that the file, a red dot next to the name of the file, this indicates that the file contains errors. And if the file is okay with no errors, the user will see a red dot next to the file. The ODE right now can integrates basic editing functions. In the future, we want to transform the Open Data Editor into a read-only tool, because we saw, based on the pilots that both organizations conducted and also user research, that people are interested to see and spot in an easy way what are the errors that they have in their tables. But to edit the data and to prepare it for, doing all the cleaning process, we know that people will use Excel, Google Sheets, again, and we discovered this, of course, talking to potential users during different times of the project. So what else we can do here? People can rename the file, open file location. What is this? Basically that whenever someone ingests data in the Open Data Editor, the tool does not use the same file and modify that file. We create a copy and add that copy into the Open Data Editor. So we keep the original file without changes, and people can work on a copy of that file. And of course, you can also delete files. Other functionality that we incorporated and we are testing right now is the AI. What can we do here? For now, we try to limit the scope of the AI application assistance, because, again, based on user research, people told us that they do not use artificial intelligence, of course, for data analysis. And the other thing is that we wanted to keep the privacy of the data that people use in the Open Data Editor. So whenever someone clicks on the AI button, we explain the user that when you connect the Open Data Editor with the AI application, the Open Data Editor will only share the names of your columns to provide better descriptions for those columns and titles for those columns. Because, again, in the user research, people mentioned that when they work with data from open data portals, sometimes public officials use very difficult names to name the column names, or codes that are internal to the public administration. So the idea here is to improve those columns names to make them more understandable and clear for people. Let's cancel this. And one of the things that I wanted to mention also here, let's click here. This is a list of judges from Argentina, I think, yes. And here the ODE shows that we have more than 300 errors in the file. So when the user clicks here, you can see all the errors grouped by category. In this case, we have all the errors are connected to blank rows that are in the file, and the ODE specifies to the user in which rows the errors are located. I think that's it. One more thing. You can also edit metadata here. This is for more advanced users. But when people click here, what they can do is update or change the license, change the names of the columns, the data formats of those columns. And we plan to improve this in 2025, because we discovered that for non-technical users, metadata is not transparent, it's not clear, it's confusing, but at the same time, it's essential to keep best practices when working with data. So one of the things that we are going to work on, again, next year is to learn and understand how we can improve this part to make it more understandable for non-technical users. Again, in the user testing sessions, and I want to talk a little bit about what someone said. One person told us, hey, if I see this button in the application, for me is do not touch, you will break something. So we want to fill that gap, bridge that gap between this technical language and non-technical language to allow people to introduce best practices when working with data. I think that's it from my side, Sarah.
Thank you very much, Romy. And actually, one of the last things that you said made me think of something that I was missing in my introduction, which is that basically, as Romina said, one of the things that we want to do with Open Data Editor is not only granting for people who might be, non-technical or have little technical skills, making it easier for them to work with data, but actually we want to use Open Data Editor also to basically teach best practices, and also for people to learn, for example, stuff like metadata, why it's there, why it is important, and why you should care about it. And to do that, actually, this is kind of top secret at the moment, but for you that are here, you can know that tomorrow actually we will launch a course about basically data quality and data fairness and how to work with better data using tools like Open Data Editor, and it will be released tomorrow, so keep an eye on our communication channels. But with that, because we're running out of time, I want to hand it over to ACIJ. I see that Camilo is here, and I saw also Eduardo. I don't know who of you will be presenting, but yeah, the floor is yours, basically. You have 10 minutes also.
Thank you, Sarah, Romina. I will speaking on behalf of ACIJ, which is the acronym in Spanish for Civil Association for Equality and Justice. Well, my name is Eduardo Ferreira. I'm co-director at ACIJ, an organization dedicated to defending human rights and promoting transparency and social justice. It's an honor to be here to share our experience as one of the organizations selected to test the Open Data Editor. I'd like to thank the Open Knowledge Foundation for giving us the opportunity to explore this tool, which has the potential to transform how in ACIJ work with open data. At ACIJ, data is a cornerstone of our work. We use it to review public policies, advocate for change, and hold institutions accountable. We specifically use ODE for two projects. The first one is related with reviewing Argentina's national budget proposal. You know, every year the government presents their budget for the rest of the year, and we review if that budget allocate enough resources to comply with human rights obligation. The second project was related to judicial selection process. There are different processes to select judges in Argentina, and so we try to oversight those processes to see if they are transparent enough and if they are fair and independent. And for these two projects, we use a massive, huge of data. So when we had the opportunity to test Open Data Editor, we were eager to explore how this tool could enhance our ability to work with open data effectively. From the beginning, our experience was positive. The installation process in our system was seamless, and the user guide offered clear, proactive guidance that effectively addressed potential challenges. The interface was clean, intuitive, and easy to navigate, which made it accessible to team members with different levels of technical expertise in ACIJ. The file upload process, especially for Excel and PDF formats, was flawless. ODE impresses with the speed in processing datasets and intuitive exploration tools, such as column sorting and metadata viewing. These features reduce the time needed to get acquainted with new data and allow us to dive into analysis more quickly. We noticed a few areas where there is room for improvement. For instance, ODE displayed only the first sheet of multi-tab Excel files, which could limit its application for more complex datasets. Similarly, structured TXT files didn't load as anticipated. Maybe adding a progress bar for lengthy uploads would improve the user experience. That said, those observations were minor compared to the app's main strengths, which stood out throughout our testing. With respect to the key features that we appreciated the most, we could mention the error identification system, which, as I think Romina talked about it, which highlight issues in red, which made it incredibly easy for us to spot and resolve problems in our datasets. Also, we highlighted the exploration tools like column sorting and metadata viewing, because they give us a quick but comprehensive overview of datasets, enabling us to focus on deeper analysis. We realized that these features are not just practical, but they are empowering. They ensure that our data is reliable, which is essential for driving transparency and accountability in our work. With respect to the impact of ODE on ACIJ's work, well, it made a huge impact. ODE allow us to allocate more time and resources to interpreting data and using it to advocate for evidence-based public policies. To give you an example, we finished our analysis of the national budget in Argentina quicker than years before, because we had the information and the database is more structured and with more order than before. We think that the design and the collaborative features of Open Data Editor can foster a culture of data-driven decision-making and promote greater engagement with open data and strengthen the overall accountability of institutions. Just to wrap up, and maybe we can do a follow-up in the Q&A section. For us, ODE is a powerful tool with immense potential. Its features have already made a meaningful impact in our work and could become an essential resource for organizations like ours. So we definitely look forward to integrating ODE into our workflows and supporting its continued development as a transformative solution for open data analysis. I'll just stop here. And if you have any question about technicalities, Camilo, who was in charge of the project, can assist with that through me because of language issues. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Eduardo. And if you have questions, keep them for later because we will have a dedicated session for Q&A. But now maybe I'll leave the floor to StoryData, to the presentation. Ellie, I assume that will be you.
Yes, I want to share my screen to share with you our presentation. Yes. Can you see our presentation?
It's coming, not yet, but it's coming, I think.
Yes, now?
Yes, now, yes.
Yes. Hello, everyone. I'm Eli Vivas, CEO and co-founder of StoryData, and I'm with Cristina Claverol and Carlos Albaladejo, who works in StoryData as data journalist, specialization in visualization. I want to share with you the problems with our data. At StoryData, we handle a large volume of data coming from the crossing of different data sets. For example, the data sets that we have been testing in the Open Data Editor pilot come from a dashboard that we have made for the Territory Department of Public Administration. The data set that fit the dashboard had to undergo many transformations, crossing data from different context variables of the territory, such as income, surface area, Gini index, or many variables. This makes us work with data sets that become a monster. There are many rows, and if there are errors, and it's very difficult to detect them. Using the Open Data Editor has helped us to detect the errors. Also, we have detected problems at the StoryData Academy. We work with many persons, students and technical persons, and we detected we have students from different disciplines who want to learn how to communicate with data. For example, technicals from public administrations or associations or journalists, designers or researchers who do not have much knowledge of data. On many occasions, many cases, the problems they have when analyzing or visualizing the data are about the type of data, kind of data they have. For example, they cannot visualize it on a map because the coordinate format is not suitable, or they want to make a calculation, and because it is a text, it does not appear. Or for example, they want to make a visualization through a date, but it's a text, and the visualization program does not recognize the format. With Open Data Editor, this type of errors could be solved. Besides, it will be a pedagogical way to understand what type of errors they have making. And now Carlos talk to you about the strengths.
Hi, everyone. For the strengths, we identify three strengths, two main strengths that are user interface. It's, as Eduardo says, very clean and intuitive. So it's not really difficult to understand the functionality of the tool. So, I mean, the UX and UI are good. in this way. So there's a simplified import export functionality and also a validation feedback system that it's intuitive in this way. So, and the learning curve, it's not existing for. So the data management, despite some format errors, the systems identifies an empty cells and other errors in large data set. That is really useful because in large amount of data, find some error, it's yeah, you can save a lot of time in this way. So this can be good also for the first approach to a data set. So to check the and to know how a data set is constructed, and also to a final review to publish your data set. So as a journalist, we always say that data journalist, we have to share the data, not just we have to be transparent. So in this way, also we in effective error detection system, we identify like it's so good the system in this way, empty cells and format inconsistencies like text, integer, number, data type. And the third one is integration and export. The Google Sheets, it's a good, I think it's very useful and easy to export also. And the most important thing is that never touch the original, because to get the data, sometimes it's really difficult. So you cannot touch the original, and I think it's a good practice, and it's really good thought in this way. So now, Christina.
Hello. This is important to talk about the visual disabilities from many people. And here are two examples that these people see the colors, red and green, if they have a disability, a visual disability. I think it's important to change the colors, thinking of these people. This is one thing, and other recommendations. Here.
Yes.
First, it will be interesting to detect the language, because since the format of the date, for example, is different in Latin or Anglo system, and this is we think our recommendation will be that when opening the application, ask what is your language. Another improve that for the navigation is finding the wrong cell and seeing in the context is very difficult, because when you have an error, we need to see in the context of the other cells, and this is difficult to see. Another thing important is that the refine the number formats, for example, geolocation or date formats. And during the testing, one of the most repeated errors has to do with the field format. And we recommend, the recommendation is perhaps will be to have the fields metadata in the toolbar or in the error type window, because for the beginners, it's not very intuitive to through the metadatas arrives to the field, to the format of the field. And also dataset copy and non-shop options to save change. For the beginners, I think it's not very intuitive. Recommendation is to create some kinds of confirmation response. For example, a warning that it can be undone before saving. And this is all.
And finally, we want to talk about the potentials of this tool. In our experience, in our region, Catalonia, we have detected that from government, both from the Generalitat de Catalunya and from the Diputació of Barcelona, they want to implement open data in the municipalities. This meant that the need for profiles that use and analyze data will grow significantly. And from our experience in the StoryData Academy, municipalities, or city councils, especially small ones, have very few resources to have specialized staff as data science. And therefore, they have to train these transparency technicians who have little or no experience with data. That is why it is necessary that they have tools to facilitate the process. An open data editor can be the solutions for these technicians, because with this tool, they will be able to detect errors in their data. Also, we think that future students, well, no, future no, now students, but future data journalists who are being trained in data and are not yet very familiar with the principles of open data. And in addition, we know of two other profiles that can use open data editors, such as data journalists, especially those who are just starting out as data journalists, or to whom we teach. Their main doubts always come from the data format. Often we have to solve doubts with open data editors they could solve by themselves. The same goes for designers who are now converting to data visualization. No? This type of profile is a humanist profile that has no training in data, and therefore open data editor could be very useful for them. And that's all. Thank you very much.
Well done both. So well done StoryData and well done ACIJ. It was very, very interesting to see that, and great that you also provided some additional feedback of stuff that we can already put on our roadmap for next year. So that's great. So now it's a time for all of us. If you have any questions or comments or something you would like to know maybe more details about, yeah, feel free to jump in, either for ACIJ or StoryData or Romina or even me and Patricio who are here, who can talk about like more general stuff. I mean, maybe more Patricio than myself, to be honest, but don't be shy. And of course, I mean, you can also write questions in the chat in case you cannot speak.
I think that it's sorry, but a comment about what Ellie says, that in the newsrooms or media newsrooms or other small organization, it's really important to have tools, like very useful tools and easy and intuitive, because maybe a big newsroom can have 10 people of the staff, like in different specialties. But right now, like a journalist, you have to learn not just, okay, I know how to do infographics, or I know how to do data visualization or in web. No, you have to know all the process and be able to manipulate the data and analyze the data. So I think it's a good tool to reduce the time of production of content, and that's I don't know what.
Thank you, Carlos. And actually, like I mean, really to the point, I think that one of the things that we really wanted to do, and it's something that I think StoryData also mentioned, the fact that a lot of the time the people that have to, publish the data, for example, in public administration or or in small organizations, don't really have the knowledge, and also the organization or the public administration doesn't really have the funding to invest in getting like very skilled people. So the idea of Open Data Editor is, of course, to facilitate that, but like as an additional layer, we also really wanted this course to basically allow people to learn for free and at their pace, basically how to, not only use Open Data Editor, but really like understand why there are concepts out there and best practices of open data and how those can actually be very helpful for them in their everyday work. Do we have other questions?
I don't have a question, but I can make a follow-up on my presentation that as if, like I said before, budget analysis is a very part of our strategy. And as part of that, we usually do training to another NGOs in Argentina and other parts of South America, encourage them to do more budget analysis. Because sometimes the review of the resources that the state has to allocate for human rights obligation is like a part that is not covered for many NGOs. And so we did a lot of training on budget analysis, and I think that this tool can make us improve our training, because now sometimes analyzing the budget is very complicated because there are so much numbers, distribution, and most NGOs are composed by lawyers or political scientists. I mean, to have that tool that can be used for another NGO that are smaller in terms of personal staff or resources and everything that can make them easier for them to do budget analysis or any data-driven initiative is welcome. So I think that's another valuable point that this tool has, for the future.
Thank you, Eduardo. And it's nice that you're mentioning this of the training course, because we have a question in the chat that is actually for both organizations, for ACIJ and StoryData. So Charles is asking regarding to the public administrations unit learning to work more and better with data, open data. Basically, they were curious to hear about how the climate is in terms of like shifting mindset and culture within and around like this ecosystem. Is it easy to convince those people? I don't know if you could tell us a little bit more about your experience in that.
Ellie, do you want to answer, or I answer?
Yes, Carlos.
Yeah, I think that it's in some points the climate it's a little bit reticent. Like, okay, that's not going with me. So in Ellie and Christina also do a lot of workshops and other stuff. So they found that in some cases some, I don't know how to say in English, but some
Say it in Spanish.
Alcaldes, mayors of municipalities or different politicians. Okay, that's not going with me. So it's really hard to change the mentality that the data have to be open, and it's not like in the ethics ways, it's just in the legal way. Also, there's a law that the transparency law that you must to give the data. Yeah, it's a little bit hard to, I don't know if I answering your question or not, Charles, but yeah, it's a little bit, it's like a wall.
Yes, it's very important to change the culture, and I think that is the word. The word is change the culture, but it's a long term work, because many public institutions have they have a lot of
of data, but they are afraid.
Yeah, a lot of data are available, and it's closed. It's not open access. So
yes, the open access is
Yeah,
is a
it's a
great
problem.
deal.
And also, we identified that maybe they have a lot of data, but it's not structured. So this is also a problem that we found. So it's not just transparency. It's that we have to put more effort to change and to change this mentality, and also the politicians to invest more money to have a very structured data set. Maybe it's a silly thing, but there's a data set that a few years ago was open access, like the pets of different cities of Catalonia, and you could know how many pets, like cats, dogs, and other another pets every city have. But right now it's okay, it's closed. So and maybe it's not. But that's, I don't know if I'm answering your question or your that's.
Well, in the case of Argentina, we noticed like a setback in terms of access to public information in general and open data in particular. Like a few months ago, the national government issued a decree, a presidential decree, establishing additional restriction about what can people access in terms of public information. Not only in the national administration, but also in public companies, even in the judiciary and in the Congress in general. So unfortunately, we are noticing like a setback on that. And the national budget that was proposed by the national government is not as transparent as another project that from years before that. And there are less information about the areas that will be that the government is allocating money. We think is in part to cover the issue that the government is reducing the budget for social services or for so the information is more general right now than years before. It's just, for instance, now the government are saying we are allocating this money for health. And years before it was, okay, this is for children healthcare, women healthcare. So the information now is presented in a more general way. And so we are noticing that a reversal in the access to public information. So yeah, I would say that the situation is more difficult than years before in Argentina, at least.
And not just in Argentina, here too. Yeah, it's there's an expression that we really like us, that maybe there are countries that, okay, like a government, I close the door to your petition, but here in Spain, we say that, okay, the door is closing slowly, but finally close at all. I don't know if I'm explaining the metaphor, but what I mean is that years ago, so maybe there's a lot of words or bureaucracy there, but I don't know how to explain it. But yes, I agree with you. I don't know really how is the situation in Argentina, but how you tell how these tools, I think, can improve, like Open Data Editor, to reduce your time, because I don't know how many people are you in your organization, but what okay.
Thanks, Carlos.
Oh,
go ahead, Eduardo. Yeah.
Oh no, sorry. No, just that's why the OD tool was very important for that this year, because as you have less information provided by the government or provided in a more general way than before, and this tool allows us to to analyze more quickly the information so we can get more conclusions about the general information provided by the government. And so the ODE is really streamline our processes, make us easier to order the data, so that allow us to analyze more quickly and with more precision. So I think this tool is needed more than ever in our case.
Yeah, and I think what Carlos was saying, and also you, Eduardo, is something that we have been also discussing. So when we were designing the course for Open Data Editor, and we were discussing this with our chapter in Brazil, Open Knowledge Brazil, one of the things that we were also discussing is, okay, I mean, the tool is there, but how can you convince people to use it, you know? And one of the things that for us was key to sort of like show in the course as well is precisely what you two were saying, is show the people that it's not important because there is a principle, but basically show it because it will improve the way that they work. It will make it quicker and easier. And so that's probably the way you can convince people, because, you know, I mean, we've been fighting a lot, like, you know, the public administration saying, oh, you should open the data and everything. But the reality is also that they're very much under-resourced, and that sometimes they don't even have the time to sort of like catch up with all these sorts of things. So in a way, making it easier for them, it's a way to change the mindset, hopefully. We'll see.
And can I add one more thing? Basically, I mean, the focus on creating efficiency, I think Eduardo and Carlos mentioned this, but what we are trying to do also with the Open Data Editor is that we know that developers work with developers, and then you have people with non-technical skills working alone. So we try to bridge that gap. So it's a way of translating complex code into something which is the ODE. And we want people not to be, I mean, to start thinking about what is happening on the background, just to do, I mean, the ODE makes it easier for them not to see the code, but see the result and help them in their work. So that's one of the main ideas. And this had a lot of implications in our work, because we have to translate complex language, technical terms into non-technical terms. And we had a lot of conversations with people, and we tried to think about the assumptions that we are making while building the product. So it was also a learning experience for us within the Open Knowledge team.
Other questions or comments?
And also, sorry, but I think it's really useful for administrations. Yeah, like you say, because like, okay, I'm gonna check if everything is okay and publish to the web. It's like CCRAN, no, CCAN. I don't know if it's like I imagine like this, because okay, I have all the data and I have to publish the data in my official web. It could be really useful and easy, like a non-technical person, you know.
And one more thing regarding changes, we're incorporated the feedback from ACIJ and also StoryData. We have already added the bar to let the user know that the file is large and that it will take some time. We are also conducting an accessibility test on the application, so we can change colors in the app. And yes, because everyone mentioned that, not only on the pilot, but also people from in the other user testing sessions. And also they highlight the same issue when checking the user guide of the Open Data Editor. So that was super helpful for us. And regarding problems with formats and downloading data from Excel and then moving that data into the ODE, there are some things that are not problems from the ODE, but related to educational parts of working with data in terms of what are the best practices. So the idea is that the educational component will be super strong next year, because we will try to educate people to produce better data sets with more quality. And for teams, what we want to say, if you are planning to also build an app, is that for when we release the app for these two organizations, we knew that the app was not ready, that the app had a lot of problems. And some organizations are scared of doing this because you are exposing your work to other people. But we think that the sooner the better. Basically, you need to open your work to other people, get honest feedback from people to improve it and build better things. If we had opened the Open Data Editor at this point, it will be too late to make improvements. So please make like pre-releases of your app to get feedback and improve the tools to solve real problems for people.
We have 5 more minutes in case you want to say something else. Yes, we have a question in the chat about the course. So we are developing this together with our chapter in Brazil, Open Knowledge Brazil. They have the Brazilian correspondent of the School of Data called Escola de Dados. So I'm butchering the Portuguese as well after the Spanish. And the course will be launched tomorrow, actually. So it's very exciting. We're going to have a soft launch. The course will be available in English, and later in the next year, it will be available in Portuguese as well. And the course, as we mentioned in the beginning, is going to be a general course on, good practices when working with data, and then kind of like exploring how tools like Open Data Editor can help you actually applying those principles. And yeah, I mean, if you want to know more about it, follow our social media channels and we will announce it there tomorrow. Okay, if there's no other questions, I don't know if Romy, Patricio, you want to say maybe a last word or something?
Just test it and let us know what is not working.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I wanted to thank again a lot ACIJ and StoryData. You've been wonderful. It has been great to test the application with you. It has been wonderful also to follow, besides just a user testing, but like on the long term, how the application was kind of like, adopted by you and made yours. You had provided us with some very useful feedback, and we're hoping that you'll keep using the application and will provide some additional feedback also in the future. For anyone else here on the call, we are happy to receive any comments that you have as well. On the Open Data Editor website, there is a way that you can contact us, or you can report an issue, either via email, or if you're a bit more tech savvy, also via GitHub issue. Thanks again, everyone, for joining us today. We're really excited about this first stable release of Open Data Editor, and we're really hoping to receive a lot of comments and that you use it a lot, and that it will hopefully make your working with data a bit easier.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.